Hey everyone, before we begin, please subscribe to this amazing video. It helps more than you know. My name is Lily Marshall, and what you're about to hear is the story that changed everything. You ever have a moment where life just cracks quietly? Not loud, not dramatic, just this slow, sinking feeling that tells you something important slipped out of place? That was me. Last weekend I was sitting on my couch, sipping the same cheap coffee I drink every morning, when my phone buzzed. I didn't expect anything big. Maybe a coupon, maybe a friend tagging me in a meme. But instead, a photo flashed onto the screen. My brother in a suit I'd never seen him wear, under soft string lights, smiling, beside a woman who barely remembers my birthday. It took me a moment, maybe longer, to understand what I was seeing. A wedding. His wedding. A wedding I wasn't invited to. A wedding he hadn't even bothered to tell me about. My stomach just dropped. Not fast, slow. Like the way the world tilts when you're trying not to cry in public. I called him. Once, twice, 5 times, and on the 6th call, someone answered. Not him, her Sienna. The woman in the white dress. The woman who had been dating my brother for less than 2 years but already spoke like she had a claim on everything he ever was. She didn't even sound nervous, just bored, like she'd been preparing for this exact moment. Yeah, she said, no greeting, no explanation. I need to talk to my brother, I told her. A small laugh. Sharp. Mean. He's busy. We just got back from the reception. Reception. I felt my heartbeat slow, like it had to process each word individually. I wasn't invited, I said. That's the point, she replied. And her next words, God, they carved something out of me. My wife doesn't want you there, she thinks you're pathetic. I didn't breathe, I didn't speak, I didn't even blink. Pathetic. My brother didn't defend me, didn't correct her, didn't say a single word. Just silence on his end, silence that told me everything. And in that silence, something inside me shifted. Because this wasn't the first time we'd stood in a moment like this. Him scared, me holding the weight. But this time, I wasn't sure I could carry it anymore. Maybe I should tell you who I am. Before I tell you what I did. Before you judge me. Before you decide whether you would have done the same. My name is Lily Marshall, 38 years old, Kansas City local, professional problem solver. Because life forced me to become one. And I wasn't always his pathetic sister, I was his everything, his guardian, his only parent. After ours disappeared far too early when I was 23, I stood in a hospital hallway signing papers with shaking hands while my 14-year-old brother cried into my coat. Our mother gone. Just like that. From that day on, I didn't get to be the older sister. I became the one who figured things out. The adult before I was ready. The person who made sure he didn't fall through the cracks grief had carved open beneath us: school fees, textbooks, robotics club, dorm room furniture, rent, the loft he lived in, the trip to Europe he dreamed of. I paid for all of it. Not because I wanted credit, but because I wanted him to have a life better than mine. For 15 years I held our world upright. I thought loyalty kept a family together. Turns out, I was wrong. And when I saw those wedding photos and heard Sienna's voice telling me he didn't need me anymore, a single thought settled in my chest: calm, steady, cold. If they want independence, I'll give them exactly that. Before I go on, where are you listening from? And honestly, what would you have done in my place? I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying, not because I was angry, but because everything inside me had gone completely, unnervingly quiet. The kind of quiet that happens after a storm, not peaceful, just empty. When I got back home from their loft, the same loft I bought, furnished and maintained, the place felt hollow. Lights flicked on automatically like they always did. A little system I'd set up to make my life feel less lonely. Didn't work this time. The air felt heavier than the silence. My heels clicked on the hardwood floor. echoing back at me like reminders of all the responsibilities I'd carried for years. That I walked straight to my my little office. The space built out of survival, not passion, documents, spreadsheets, deadlines. A life held together with color-coded folders, and there, under that cold lamplight, something inside me, aligned at if they want independence. I whispered it again. Slow, measured, certain. Then they're going to have it. Fully. Completely. No exceptions. That I opened a blank spreadsheet. At first, I stared at the empty grid, all those tiny squares waiting. Then I started typing. Not feelings. Not memories. Numbers, the loft purchase price. Mortgage balance. Monthly payments. Electric, water, internet. Insurance, streaming accounts. The family phone plan. The credit card he used only for emergencies. The travel fund, $35,000, saved dollar by dollar over years, line after line, column after column. The list grew until the truth stared back at me like a mirror. I had built a safety net so wide. He thought it was the ground beneath his own 2 feet. And now he resented me for it. The irony stung, not fast, but with that slow ache of realizing you've been holding onto a rope someone else let go of a long time ago. That I picked up my phone. There was only one person I trusted to tell me the truth without sugarcoating anything. Maya Lopez, attorney, brutally honest, allergic to drama. She answered half asleep. Lily? It's past midnight. Everything okay? No, I said. But it will be. I read her the entire list, every payment, every purchase, every account. When I finished, I asked the question that felt like drawing a line in wet cement. Do I have the legal right to unwind all of this? Every dollar. Every asset. Every booking without giving him a thing? There was a rustle of papers. A pause. Then Maya's voice sharpened. Lily, everything on that list is under your name. Every single item. That if you want to sever financial ties, you can. Completely. He has no legal claim. The quiet in my chest hardened into certainty. Good, I said. Send me what I need. Maya exhaled. Is this about the wedding? I wasn't invited, I replied. And apparently, I'm pathetic. A long silence, then a soft whistle. Then let's make you pathetic on paper too, she said. I'll email you everything. When the call ended, my inbox started filling. Forms, steps, documents. That it felt like loading ammunition. That I printed every page, stacked them neatly, and stared at them like they were instructions for dismantling an entire chapter of my life. Morning came without asking permission. That I hadn't slept. But I wasn't tired. I felt something else. Clear to focus. 9:01 am. I made the first call. Airline customer service, how may I assist you? My name is Lily Marshall, I said. I need to cancel a reservation. 2 premium tickets to Europe. The trip my brother dreamed of since he was 16. Reason for cancellation? The agent asked. Plans changed, I replied, cold, flat. Honest. She processed it. You're eligible for a refund and travel credit. Should I proceed? Yes, I said. Please do. 5 minutes later, an email hit my inbox. Refund confirmed. Honeymoon canceled. The first domino fell. Then the second. I logged into the travel fund account. $35,000 each, dollar a memory. I clicked withdraw all without hesitating. The warning flashed, fees, penalties, taxes. I hit confirm anyway. Next domino. Then the big one, the loft. I called Reed, the realtor who helped me buy it years ago. Lily, he said warmly. Long time. What's up? I need to sell the loft. I told him. A pause. You're selling it? I thought it was for your brother. It was, I said. Circumstances changed. Reed didn't pry. Didn't judge, didn't give me pity. Crossroads is hot right now, he said. If we list today, we'll get offers by the weekend. List it, I said. No staging. No waiting. You got it. The documents hit my email that I skimmed. Sign at by noon. The loft was on the market by 3 p.m. The building manager called. Miss Marshall, I need to confirm you authorized the sale of Unit 5C. Yes. The current occupants weren't aware. That's not my responsibility. Silence on his end, the kind of silence that says he knows enough not to ask more. We'll handle it, he said. Good. Because I wasn't done. Utilities? Removed from my name. Phone plan? Disconnected. Authorized credit card user? Deleted streaming profiles? Wiped? Passwords changed. One click after another, each one snapping a thread I had spent 15 years tightening, and when the last one was done I drafted a text. Not emotional. Not angry, just the truth. You wanted independence. You have it now. Did you not contact me again? I sent it. Blocked his number. Put the phone down. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt something inside me settle. Not peace. Not yet. But something close. Something like the beginning of it. The next 48 hours felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind that happens after you rip out a rotten foundation. Everything goes still because it has nothing left to stand on. The first ripple came from the building office. A voicemail. Miss Marshall, Sienna came in today. She seemed upset. Very upset. She said the sale must be a mistake. We informed her everything is legally in your name. She wasn't pleased. I listened twice. Not because I needed the details, I knew exactly how Sienna reacted the moment she saw that notice on the loft door, but because something inside me felt validated. Not proud. Not vengeful, just aligned. Actions finally had consequences and they weren't mine to carry for once. That same night, Reed, my realtor, emailed me. Offer accepted. Buyer deposit received. The loft was officially set to close in 10 days. 10 days. And they'd be required to leave. 10 days. And the building I'd carried on my shoulders for years would no longer belong to me. Or to them. That I stared at the email, letting the truth settle slowly, like dust in sunlight. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt final. A chapter flipping itself shut. The next morning, I woke up expecting panic, maybe guilt. Maybe that familiar instinct to fix things before they break completely. But none of that came. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Stillness. That strange, quiet state where your chest doesn't hurt just from breathing. Where you're not bracing yourself for the next emergency. Where the world doesn't feel like it's pulling you in 10 different directions. I made coffee. Sat at my small kitchen table. Let the sunlight fall across my hands. For once, the morning belonged to me. No calls, no problems, no responsibilities that weren't mine. A week passed. Then 2. And slowly, painfully, slowly, everything started feeling different. My apartment didn't feel like an empty waiting room anymore. It started to feel lived in. I rearranged furniture just because I wanted to. Bought a new plant I'd probably forget to water. Cooked a meal that wasn't rushed or eaten standing over the sink. I even caught myself humming one afternoon, a tiny, subconscious sound that startled me because it had been years since I'd made it. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was breathable. Until the call from Reed. Lily, he said. You're not going to believe this. What now? Your brother came into the agency. He wanted to know what happened. Why the loft was sold. Why the utilities shut off. Why everything changed. I exhaled slowly. Not annoyed. Not surprised. And what did he say? I asked. Reed hesitated, the kind of hesitation people have when they're deciding whether to repeat something stupid. He said, you went too far. A slow, humorless laugh escaped me. Too far. Not I'm sorry. Not I understand. Not she shouldn't have spoken to you like that. Just too far. Are you okay? Reed asked softly. I thought about it. Really thought. Checked the quiet in my chest. Yes, I said. And for the first time, it's actually true. Weeks kept passing. Then months. 4 months of silence. 4 months without a single call, text, apology, knock at my door. Nothing. 4 months where I realized something that should have been obvious. I wasn't the one who ended the relationship. He had stopped showing up a long time ago. I just finally stopped picking up the slack. Why life got simpler, cleaner, better. I earned a promotion at work. Moved out of the big loft into a smaller place that felt completely, totally mine. Booked a solo trip to Yellowstone, something I'd always wanted but never allowed myself to do. Some nights I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea and listened to the sound of the city, not as the background noise of stress, but as music. And for the first time since I was 23 years old, I wasn't responsible for anyone but myself. I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt free. But the real turning point, the moment everything crystallized, came on a random Tuesday. For months after the wedding photos hit my screen, my phone lit up. Unknown number. I almost let it ring. Almost. But something, call it instinct, call it closure, made me swipe to answer. Hello. A long breath. Then a voice that barely sounded alive. Lily, it's me. Evan, except not the version of him I'd known. Not the confident grown man. Not the brother who told me I made things heavy. Not the person who said he needed space. No, this voice was cracked, thin, fragile, like someone had scraped all the strength right out of it. He started talking in pieces and fragments, and the story spilled out slowly, painfully, like someone pouring out a box of broken glass. Sienna had spent their savings. Every penny. Brand deals never came. Influencer life wasn't paying the bills. Debt piled up. She blamed him, mocked him, ignored him. Then the honeymoon cancellation hit because without my tickets she couldn't post the travel content she'd been planning for months. She melted down publicly, turned on him, embarrassed him in front of her friends, and when the loft sold, when she realized she'd lost the free home she counted on, that was the final fracture. She left, ran off with someone else. Someone with more opportunity. According to her, she took half their shared debt. On the way out, and Evan, my brother, my responsibility for 15 years, was suddenly alone, broke, and terrified. His voice shook when he said it. Lily, I have nowhere to go. Can I stay with you? Just until I get back on my feet. Please. For a moment, I didn't speak. I let the silence sit, settle, reveal the truth. Not the truth about him, about me. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. No, I said softly. You wanted independence, live it. I hung up. Blocked the number. Set the phone down gently. Not triumphant. Not angry, just steady. The way a door feels when it finally clicks shut after hanging crooked for years. When the call ended, when his voice finally faded into that cold digital silence, I sat there for a long moment, staring at my own reflection in the dark screen of my phone. Not angry. Not shaking. Not even sad anymore. Just steady. It's strange how life works. You spend years drowning just to keep someone else afloat, and the day you stop, you realize you could have touched the shore a long time ago. I didn't rush to distract myself. I didn't pace. I didn't replay the conversation in my mind like an old wound out. I simply breathed, slow, deep, present. And for the first time since I was 23 years old, I felt something warm settle inside my chest. Relief. Not the fragile kind you're scared to touch, but the sturdy kind you can build a life on. The next few days passed with this strange, unfamiliar clarity that I walked differently, straighter, lighter. Not carrying decades of someone else's weight, I started filling my apartment with things I loved. A soft throw blanket, a little plant by the window, a framed map of Yellowstone to remind myself of the trip I booked. Just because I wanted to. My home didn't look like a place waiting for another responsibility to arrive. It looked like mine. And I liked that. I liked it more than I expected. Then something unexpected happened, something that proved I had made the right choice. Nothing. No texts, no calls, no friends urging me to make peace, no guilt-filled apologies, no begging, just silence. For weeks, for months. The same silence that had once hurt me was now the thing saving me. It taught me something I wish I'd learned years earlier. Sometimes the only way to survive family is to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warmed. I wasn't heartless, I wasn't cruel. I was recovering. And recovery looks like boundaries. It looks like choosing yourself when someone else refuses to choose you back. It looks like ending the cycle, not continuing. My life became smaller. But smaller in the best possible way. I cooked meals for one, and they tasted better than any rushed dinner from the years before. I went hiking on weekends, listening to the sound of gravel under my boots instead of the sound of emergency phone calls. I sat by quiet lakes, took pictures of the sunrise, watched wildlife with the patience I never had the luxury to hold. For once, nothing was urgent, no one needed me, and no one depended on me. And the world didn't collapse because I stopped carrying it. It finally stayed upright, because I wasn't underneath it anymore. One evening, months later, I stood outside my building watching the sunset melt into the Kansas City skyline. Warm orange fading into soft blues. A sky that felt big enough for all the versions of myself I'd lost along the way. And in that moment I finally understood. I didn't cut my brother off, he walked away first, I just closed the door he left open. And closing it wasn't vengeance. It was survival. It was self-respect. It was choosing a life where I didn't have to earn love by giving everything I had. A life where I mattered, even when no one else needed me. So if you've ever had to walk away from family, if you've ever drawn a boundary that felt like tearing yourself in half, if you've ever been told you were too much, while you were just trying to hold things together, you're not alone. You're not wrong. And you're not heartless. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is be done. My name is Lily Marshall, and this quiet, steady life I'm building now is the first one I've ever built just for me. If this story stayed with you, please subscribe so you don't miss the next one.